How are you doing? Um, over the resource exploitation project in Sakhalin for East Russia, which is at a crossroad in Russia's Ukraine invasion, the Japanese government will maintain the interests of resource exploitation for the time being. And if Japan pull out the plug from this resource exploitation, and if China inherited this interest in the right of resource exploitation this time, it would not become economic sanction to Russia substantially. So, moreover, it is almost impossible to get the interest back, which once you let go of. And the Japanese government won't really avoid the situation where increase of energy procurement costs will bounce back to gas and electronic expenses. And on 24th March, in Ministerial Board meeting of International Energy Agency, there was a discussion about the policy to lower the degree of dependency to natural gas produced by Russia. And the Minister of Economy and Trade and Industry, Ogilda, said that we made sure what we would have to do individually in the meeting. And the United States and England that are less dependent to energies produced by Russia take clear attitude to avoid relying on energy supply from Russia. And ExxonMobil owning the interests of energy exploitation of Sakhalin number 1 and the Shell owning the interests of energy exploitation Sakhalin number 2 in Russia announced that they would pull out the plug from this project completely. And the Japanese government are still involved with both two energy exploitation businesses. On the other hand, the Germany that has independently imported half of natural gas from Russia through the pipeline will continue importing it for the time being. And Japan, very small energy resource country, set up the policy to lower the dependency to Russia in mid to long term, but it still has a risk to change the policy promptly. So Hiroshima Gas is importing 50% and Toho Gas is importing 20% of LNG from Sakhalin. And if energy supply stagnated, there will be tremendous influence on their businesses. So the chairman of Japan Gas Association, Takehiro Honjo, said that we really need to take measure against this, but we are not in a position to answer the clear decision on reduction of the degree of dependency to Russia in terms of energy supply from Sakhalin. And Russia now is putting pressure on unfriendly countries like Japan and States and Western countries to demand payments as ruble when purchasing natural gas from Russia. And however, if Japan pulled out the plug from Sakhalin number 2, LNG procurement costs will increase, and gas and electronic costs used for low material are likely to increase. And there is calculation that it cannot be helped that Japanese companies need to procure by spot dealing in compensation for reduction amount. And Japan will increase these costs by around 1 trillion yen. And Japan was originally top importer of LNG in the world. But in 2021, China exceeded Japan's dealing amount. And China proceeded with changing energy source from coal to natural gas to focus on deoxidization by increasing the gas that has relatively a few emission of carbon dioxide as a fuel for power generation. So China has started investing LNG exploitation project that Japan has already joined around Sakhalin. And in 2019, China started importing natural gas through the pipeline from Russia. And there is a indication that the amount of energy that supports China's infrastructure is overwhelmingly huge. So China is dying for Japan's interest of natural gas exploitation, and they really want to inherit the interests of resource exploitation that Japan is owning now. So Japan actually doesn't really want to pull out the plug from this project on the ground that it has lesson. It has really hard lesson from the bitter experiences before. INPEX, the Japan's energy company, which is the Japanese government is personally investing, withdraw from Iranian oil fields. I don't know how to pronounce that. Azadigan oil field in Iran in 2010. And if Japan had been subject to sanction based on the Iran sanctions road enforced by the United States, there would have been the risk of loan rejection from the financial institution of the United States. So INPEX was forced to make tough decision then. So INPEX has already invested 12 billion and 500 million in and returned 10% of the interest to Iranian National Oil Company for free as a decision. And to make matter worse, the the country that inherited this interest was China National Petroleum Corporation. And and the person and the Japanese government mentioned that this is going to be really important project on national security purpose. If China obtained the interest that Japan released, only Japan would take damage.